So commit to your future. When it comes to getting the results that you want, when it comes to doing what it is that you want to do in your life, you have to commit to those results. You can't just let things happen, because what happens is we end up going on autopilot. So one of the reasons why a lot of people don't actually get what they want in their life, and that's because they don't set clear goals. The unconscious mind needs direction. The unconscious mind is 95% of everything you do every day is unconscious. It's just something that happens for you. So if you don't set clear goals, it just goes off and does what it thinks is the right thing to do according to your past. So it's really, really important when it comes to getting the results that you want, that you give your unconscious mind a very, very clear indication of what it is that you want your unconscious mind to go after. I think it's going to be in a week or so, I'm going to jump on and talk a little bit about why that happens and how that happens. But it's really, really important to understand that if you don't have very clear in your mind results of what it is that you want, the unconscious mind actually doesn't know what to look for. This is probably one of the biggest problems I find with people, is that they say they want to be happier, but you can be happier right now. It depends on what you focus on. If you focus on happy things, you're going to be happy. If you focus on unhappy things, you're going to be basically unhappy. So what happens is, what are the results that you want? So whether it's in life, whether it's in business, whatever area of life it's in, you must know what it is exactly that you want. If you're wanting more money, that's pretty easy, because you can say exactly, how much money it is that you want. But then you have to set goals as to how are you going to get that money. It doesn't just appear. If you're looking at something on a more personal basis, and you say to yourself, you want to be more happy, that's great. But what does happiness look like to you? What does it mean for you to be happy? How are you going to know that you're happy? So it's not about, sitting on some really surface level type thinking. It's about going really, really deeper. And once you go really deep and you say to your unconscious mind, well, you know what? If I can have a cup of tea every day at lunchtime and just relax and sit outside in my garden, that makes me happy. Things around you begin to change and shift, and the unconscious mind knows that that's what you want. So it actually creates circumstances to allow you to go and do that. So you have to be very, very clear in your goals to start with. If you want to change your results, you need to know, what are those results that you want to change? What do you want to see? What does it look like for you? What are these results? Just saying, I want things to be different doesn't work, because the unconscious mind doesn't know what different is. And the conscious mind is the goal setter. So you need to do this consciously, and the unconscious mind is the goal getter. So the unconscious mind will be the one that will take you there. So set very clear goals. That's absolutely the first thing that you need to do when it comes to getting different results. Because as I said, 95% of everything we do every day is on autopilot. One of the ways that I love to set goals is using SMART goals. I've always found that SMART goals are really, really encompass all the rules, I suppose, all what needs to be followed when it comes to goal setting. So what does SMART stand for? Now, there's a lot of different people say a lot of different things, but for me, this is what SMART stands for. The S is for being very specific. We've already spoken about that. Very specific and very simple. A lot of people also set some convoluted goals. After I do this, so if that happens, then I'm going to go and do that. And first I've got to do this, and then I'll do that. And it becomes so muddled. See, the unconscious mind is basically like a young child. So if you start giving the unconscious mind too many reasons or things that have to happen before it gets to that particular goal, then it gets very confused. So if you've got a goal that, yeah, okay, you might need different things to happen before then, well, part of getting to that goal is to break down those steps and getting to the first step and then the second step and then the third step. The M starts for measurable, meaning something that you can measure. And I said this again in the last part of this video, was when we talk about measuring, what are you actually going to see? How are you going to know when you've got something? As I said before, people are constantly popping or putting goals together, and there's no measurability. There's nothing tangible to say, this is how I know when I'm going to get this goal. So what's the tangible result of this goal? It also needs to be meaningful for you. A lot of people set goals for other people. That is not going to work. The goal has to be meaningful for you. It has to be something that you want. Because if it's not for you, why are you going to use so much energy to actually go after that goal? The A stands for as if, meaning you act as if you've already got the goal. The unconscious mind does not know the difference between the past, present, and future. And thus, if you're acting as if you've already got something, what the unconscious mind does is it actually acts that way as well and doesn't know that you don't have it and begins to get you there because it thinks you've already got it. And so all your behavior begins to change. Have a look at the difference between successful people and not successful people. Their behavior is completely different. Their mindset is completely different. So ask yourself, what would I act like? What would I be saying to myself? Because that's the other thing. What will I see? What will I hear when I have this? And begin to act as if you can. Also, make sure the A is also stands for achievable, that it's something that you can achieve. I believe that people can achieve anything as long as it's realistic. And we're going to talk about realistic in a minute, but I believe people can achieve anything, but we overestimate what we can do in 12 months and underestimate what we usually can do in 3 or 4 years. What happens is that people set goals that are just not achievable. As I said before, you need to break your goals down and you need to say, well, if this is the big goal at the end that I want, what are the things in between that I can achieve that will move the needle forward to get to that big goal? So make sure that the goal is not overwhelming. It's like people that, this is why New Year's resolutions don't work, because people, what they actually do is they set these goals. One of the ones that comes to mind straight away is weight loss. They set these massive weight loss goals and they expect it to happen like that. So achievable goals is really important. And if it's a big goal, I'm not saying it's not achievable. What I'm saying is it might need to be broken down into smaller steps so that it can be achievable. R is for realistic, meaning is it something that realistically can happen? In other words, okay, I use myself in as example here. I can't swim. I tell everyone this, I can't swim. Now I can go and learn to swim, but I can't become an Olympic champion swimmer because realistically I would have had to start to mold my physical body into the body of a swimmer. So at my age now, that is not going to happen. So that's the other thing. People set goals that are completely unrealistic. One of the other goals that I see when it comes to business and when it comes to money is people that work in a job, meaning they are employees, and then they say that next year in my business, I want to make $1 million. Well, unless you know the TattsLotto numbers, it's not that it can't happen because magic does happen, right? But unless you know the actual TattsLotto numbers maybe to make that $1 million, chances are that you're not going to make $1 million as an employee. So then maybe you need to change things around. So this is what people don't think about. Once you start to break your goals down and start to think of them through this smart filtering process, what begins to happen is you have to think about, how am I going to achieve that? How is that going to happen? What is it that I need to do? And I'm not saying you can't make $1 million in 12 months, because you absolutely can, but maybe something needs to shift for you to do it. The bad thing, or I suppose bad is not the right word, but the thing that tends to happen here is that people tend to want quick results. Okay, they want short-term gain all the time, but there are things that you need to go through short-term pain for long-term gain. But we're in a society where everything is fast, quick. You got to reply to my email, answer my phone. We're on call all the time. And so what happens is you begin to get used to that. Your brain begins to get used to that, and you want results really quickly. The other one is also responsible, meaning that, does it fit in with your values? Values are something that is really, really important to you. And does it fit in with your values? What's really important for you? And a lot of people, sometimes they go and do things because they think they're fulfilling their goal, but it actually doesn't align with them, and it actually all falls apart. So you need to look at that as well. The other thing is timed. Okay, is your goal timed? Meaning, what's the time frame? If you just say one day, someday, next year, what is next year? So goals need to be timed so that the unconscious mind has a time reference point. Really, really important. And also toward what you want. One of the other things that people don't do all the time is that they don't know what they actually want. They know what they don't want, but they don't know what they actually want. Now, the unconscious mind does not process a negative. If I say to you, don't think of a blue tree, which is the example we use all the time in our trainings, what usually happens is you think of a blue tree and then you say to yourself, I shouldn't have thought of the blue tree. Okay, so the unconscious mind does not process a negation or a negative. So you need to have your goals towards what you want, not what you don't want. And most people will fly off like that with saying what they don't want, and are not able to tell you what they do want. So this is why you don't get the results that you want. And thirdly, you need to commit. You need to commit to these results, meaning that your results need to be more important than any reason that you could possibly have for not wanting it. And if the results aren't that way, if your results are not as strong as your reasons will definitely win out. So you need to commit. You need to commit to those results. And you need to be fully 100% responsible for getting those results. Again, a lot of people who are really, really successful, you will probably notice, don't let anything get in their way. No failure, no setbacks. They're committed. That's what they want, and they keep going. Elon Musk, with his rockets at the moment, the first one he set off not long ago blew up, but he kept going. He did it again. So you need to be committed 100% to your results. You need to be 100% responsible for the results that you get as well. So when you get a result, you need to break down that result and work out why you got that result and how do you tweak it. Not to sit there and go, oh, see, I've tried everything and nothing works. You need to be accountable to whatever results you get and everything that you do. You must have accountability and willingness to do whatever it takes to get those results. Because if you're not willing to do whatever it takes to get those results, then how committed actually are you? And see, if you're not really committed to something, then the unconscious mind will actually move in another direction. And the third and last thing that I'm going to talk about with this is controlling your responses. If you're a person that is led through emotion, inevitably things change, things go wrong. that's what the world is all about. If things were easy, if getting your results was smooth sailing, well, we would all be doing it. One of the things that happens is when something does go wrong or something doesn't work out the way you want it, an obstacle, a challenge gets in the way, whatever you want to call it, our emotional responses at that moment, which are created by the amygdala of our brain, because that's where our emotional responses are, will then trigger the part of our brain called the hippocampus, which stores our memories. And what begins to happen is that your unconscious mind begins to say to itself, it's not worth me trying to get my results, because look what happens every time something goes wrong. Look at the pain that causes. Now, that's not logical, because the unconscious mind is not logical. So eventually you create neural network pathways that will not allow you to move forward because of the responses, the emotional responses, the emotional backlash that you have going on every time something doesn't quite go right. So make sure that when things don't quite work out the way you want it, that you control or are in charge of your emotional responses, or else what will happen is you will create this roller coaster that will stop you from creating more and more success. See, most successful people are not fazed at all by obstacles or challenges. They look them in the face and they go straight through them. So look at your past experiences, because if you've done this in the past, that's probably what's holding you back from going forward now. So you need to commit. You need to be in charge of those emotional responses. You need to accept that challenges and difficulties are going to get in the way. If they're not, you're not moving, you're not going forward, because you can be sitting right where you are and everything's comfortable. But the minute you move forward, obstacles are going to get in your way. Things are going to start happening because you've never been there before. So you need to begin to navigate the waters. But you need to also accept that, and also accept that failure is inevitable. If you actually accept that failure is inevitable, your unconscious mind, when failure or a challenge happens, says, oh, well, we know that was going to happen. Let's keep going. And in actual fact, your own mindset creates success, not failure, because it's the fear of failure, fear of actually failing, that creates the failure. Just accepting that things are going to not go the way that you possibly might want them to go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you know what? It happens, and I'm just going to keep moving forward. So what actually ends up happening is you just push through it. You don't even notice it. You just go, oh, that didn't work. Let's try this instead. So you have to commit, and your commitment needs to be bigger than any other possible reasons that you could have when it comes to this success. That's it for me for today, guys. You can follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I would love to have you in my community. Follow me if you like what you hear, and send me a little message. Let me know that you're watching. And if there's anything you would like me to talk about, I would absolutely love to hear from you, and we'll organize something so that I can answer your questions. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.